welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Once again, they're dragging this along. I believe they said it was 10 more days, child, but I'm still along for the ride. I'm gonna let them drag me by my scalp until we get to the end, child, because I done started it. I'm gonna finish it. So let's start with Clint and Gina. Clint stay cooking some good food for Gina. Gina, you're not appreciative enough for me, okay? Not many men want to get up and cook you a meal, make sure you eat, because you'll go throughout the day without eating if he didn't cook for you. I mean, like, I feel like Clint has so many good qualities that I feel like Gina is overlooking just because she's not attracted to him physically. I said all that to say that catfish looked good and I wanted to try it. Later on, they met up with Dr. Pepper. Once again, this is way too late. Like, they should have been met up with these experts. They needed all of the experts in one since the honeymoon, okay? Like, they've been on life support since then. Why are y'all just now sending Dr. Pepper over here? They said it out of their own mouths. They're friend zoned. The experts, their job is to try to convince these people to stay in a relationship regardless. Clearly. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if they were giving their true opinion, they would tell these people to break up. Dr. Pepper is telling her, you know, the core friendship is love. They're friendly, but are they actually friends? Like, after this experiment is over and clearly they're both going to say no, do you think they're really going to keep in contact with each other? You think they're really going to be friends? I doubt it. Then Dr. Pepper asked, what would you like to see from each other? She said she don't even know what she needs. I'm like, girl, why are you here? Why did you decide to get married and you don't even know what you need from your partner? She finally lands on she would like support through affirmation / praise. Like, oh, you did a good job on that, yada yada. He says he's looking for a thoughtful gesture. Dr. Pepper suggested maybe you cook a meal for him instead, since he always cooks for you. And then she suggested them watching romantic movies, and she said driving Miss Daisy. Dr. Pepper. Driving Miss Daisy. That's it for Clint and Gina. Not much really be going on with them. They're just along for the ride at this point. I feel like they're just gonna make their way to decision day, say no, with no hard feelings. Let's move on to Chris and Nicole. I've almost reached my limit with Nicole. I don't know how Chris does it. And even though Chris has his issues, and I feel like he might need, you know, to work through those things that he has as well, Nicole's are way more prominent, and I feel like they need more immediate attention because Nicole is making stuff up out of thin air at this point. But we'll get to that. So when we first see them, they're sitting down and she's telling him that even though she asked for space, she doesn't want him to let her have it. See what I'm talking about? Like, what? Like, if you ask me for space, I'm going to give it to you. If you don't want space, don't ask for it. It's as simple as that. She ends up saying that her ex would constantly brush her feelings off, and low-key, she's making Chris pay for it, because that doesn't make any sense. She constantly needs validation and reassurance, and she says, well, if you're not going to be able to handle that, there's the door, but if you want to stick around, stick around. She's just looking for new ways to push him away at this point. So then we see all the couples meet up together. Nicole is a habitual line stepper. So I saw a clip online where she would slide notes up under Shaq and Kirsten's apartment door, telling him how to woo her, basically. I feel like you're going too far doing stuff like that. Now, if y'all having a one-on-one conversation, he asks you for advice, okay, but this non-solicited advice you keep giving people, it's doing too much. Now, I do understand in group environments, it's clear that production asks someone to stir the pot and ask certain questions. But Nicole, I just feel like this is Nicole's personality. She has no problem overstepping boundaries and saying what's on her mind, jumping in people's relationships, and, you know, telling their partner what the other partner is scared of saying. And just stick a pin in that, because we're going to get to it when we get to those couples. But I'm just like, Nicole, why do you feel the need to speak up and speak for women, grown women that are in whole marriages? Like, I don't need for you to scold my husband for me. And if I do, I don't need to be in that relationship. You don't even have a good grip on your own relationship. So then we see her and Kirsten going to a lingerie shop. And, you know, we already know that Nicole is very insecure about her body. And I just feel like she needs to, you know, combat that negative self-talk. And we're going to talk more about that later when she talks to Pastor Cal. But even when it came to her trying on the lingerie, Nicole has a nice body. Like, she has that fit, almost gymnast type body. I feel like she looked amazing in what she had on. I know Chris ain't complaining. He better not, okay? But she looked great. And when she looked in the mirror, she couldn't help but see all the negative things about her. And that's why I think she needs to work on that negative self-talk. But the funny part about them going there is Kirsten giving her tips on how to seduce Chris and dropping her robe. I mean, Kirsten really acted like it was the 1940s and it was a grandmother reliving her glory days. Like, that's the way you've been seducing. I mean, it's been working, child. But it was just so funny to see. So then Nicole and Chris sit down with Pastor Cal. This is where she fully created an issue out of thin air. She felt a way that the man didn't pick her and she was chosen for him. Isn't this what this entire process is about? And the man wants you. It's not like Pastor Cal and them chose you for him and he's not happy. He's happy. And Pastor Cal was like, I really need you to stop. He has no doubts about you. You are self-sabotaging to the highest degree. He basically told her, you have to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. She was like, okay, I'm gonna work on it. He was like, don't work on it, do it. And that's something I even have to tell myself. Like, I always say, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that. Don't try, do it. During this meeting with Pastor Cal, he asked Chris, do you love her? And he ended up saying, I love you for the first time. He had been felt it. He just was apprehensive to say it. And, you know, see, Nicole, you're probably the reason why he was apprehensive to say it, because every time you turn around, he's walking on a landmine with you. I want them to work, but I feel like Nicole has to do a lot of self-work. And really, she wasn't ready to get married. But maybe Chris will be patient enough and be there for her while she's working on herself. Because, child, it would irritate me. Another severely irritating couple, mainly just Eris. Devon Franklin sits down with these couples individually. She ended up telling him that she had a breakthrough with the girls the day before and cried and let it all out. And, you know, she talked about how she sweeps things under the rug. And he was like, well, when you do that, it just continues to pile up until you can't keep sweeping no more. It's just sitting there. She feels like they could work, but she feels that he doesn't feel that. And he said, your task isn't to figure out his feelings, address yours so that you can communicate that. And I could agree. But I also think you should be realistic, and if you see that he's not trying, then why continue to put your own feelings and emotions in jeopardy? She brings up the fact that he's been through a lot, and basically he is constantly trying to trauma bond with her, and she doesn't have any major trauma. And he asked her, well, what have you been through? And she was like, well, I was bullied for 3 years, and it shows a pattern with her because she didn't tell her family what she was going through back then. And she learned to suppress her feelings that way. And also, she never saw her parents argue or work through problems. So she has no model of communication in a marriage. And he was like, well, now that you know that, you have the ability to change it. She ends up saying that she doesn't really confront him because she's worried about his response. And he was like, even if he says that he's not in this, the truth will set you free. Even if you do open up and you tell him these things and he says he's not in it, at least you don't have to be stuck in this loveless marriage. So then he meets up with Eris. Devon asks him, what are things that you do like about Jasmine? He says he likes her passion behind her jobs and hobbies, and that she's a very calming presence, and that's very appealing when, you know, the rest of the world is going crazy to come home to peace. He asked Eris, well, do you want to be attracted to her? He was like, I do want to be attracted to her, but basically she can't change her physical appearance. He didn't say that. I'm just explaining what he meant by what he said. He asked him about his job. Are you good at your job? Eris is like, yes. And he was like, well, are you putting that same effort that you put into your job, into your marriage? And he's like, no. And he asked him, why not? He was like, because I don't lose anything by this marriage not working out. And I'm just like, leave this woman alone then. If you feel like you lose nothing by losing Jasmine, why are you still here? Why are you still here? Like, you are stringing this woman along. That means you're not invested at all. Devon asked him, well, why did you get married? Pretty much. He wants to share his life with someone. He wants to have kids. That's something that he never really had, was a 2-parent household. So that's something that he wants. And he said that Jasmine has the potential to give that to you, but you're not even putting in the effort to see if it'll work. Then Eris brought up the fact that, when he does try to ask Jasmine questions, she's not really answering them. He was like, well, why don't you ask follow-up questions? If she's only giving short answers, ask more questions behind that to where she can expound. Yeah, that's what someone would do if they cared, but clearly he don't. They would show more affection before the lack of attraction was brought up. Devon told him that he should break the ice and verbalize his commitment to Jasmine instead of using lack of attraction as a crutch. Pretty much, if you don't put your all in now, you're going to regret it. I feel like Eris knows all the right things to say. He's not using the tools that the experts are giving him. He's not putting in the effort. Like, you know what to do, you're just not doing it. You don't care to do it. Why are we here? This is a waste of everybody's time. So when they all met up with the other couples as a group, she ended up telling the group, really she just told the men and her husband, because the girls were there. And he was looking shocked. You already know Nicole had to butt in, and she told Eris that he needs to try harder and y'all need to have those uncomfortable conversations, because clearly it's weighing heavy on her. She's not wrong. She was just doing too much in the moment. Let Jasmine speak for herself. So after the couples have their conversation, they go take a class on how to line dance. And, they're all laughing, joking, having a good time. We see all of the couples pretty much dancing together. But while he's standing off to the side, the instructor goes up, grabs Eris's hand and starts dancing with him. And he's like getting all into it. Jasmine had her last straw with him. That completely set her off. I feel like she said it loud enough to where people could hear that she was over it. She ended up storming out, and he barely even noticed. I mean, nobody really noticed. She walked out with the producer, and I feel like somebody from the crew had to let him know that she had stormed out, because he didn't even realize. So once he came outside, she confronted him, and he claims that it wasn't like that. He was trying to learn a new step because he wasn't the best dancer. The lady wasn't even his type. I could see why you would think that because of the place that we're in. Once again, I feel like Eris knows what to say. Like, he knows what to say. He knows, like, he's very hyper aware of everything that's going on. If you know all of that, then why would you do it? Because he don't care about her feelings. He apologized, but Jasmine still felt some type of way. She was like, you literally could have just not danced with her. And immediately she becomes withdrawn and she's looking at her phone. I really wish, like, Jasmine, this was the time for you to go off on him. Nobody would have been mad at you. Nobody would have looked at you crazy. This was a time for you to snap. I really thought she was going to let him have it, and it would have been a perfect time to do it. Like, low key, I feel like that's exactly what Eris needs. He needs somebody to go off on him. Not saying in order to make him like her or make the situation work. He just deserves it. He deserves it, and it deserves to come from Jasmine because she's the one taking the beating from this. I just wanted her to let it all go. Just blow up on him. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to get in her body and do it for her. They ended up leaving together. All the other couples were like, where'd they go? Where'd they go? Like, they didn't even realize what happened, really. They got home. He ended up sleeping on the couch. So clearly they were not in a good place. Dr. Pepper shows up the next day and they talk about the night before. He said that he feels bad for, dancing with the lady. But when he thought about it, he felt like the storming out was unnecessary and it made the situation worse. If it were me, you would have known what worse was. Oh, you thought that was bad? You thought that was bad. Now, I wouldn't have caused a scene in front of everybody because that's just not me. But once you came outside and I felt like, it was just us two out there, oh yes, you definitely would have heard it from me. So you thought that was bad? You thought it made everything? Oh, it would have been way worse, and it would be to the point of no return with me. Dr. Pepper asked them point blank, "Are you done?" I feel like this was the time where both of them should have said yes. I feel like both of them should have just said to the top of their lungs, "Oh yes, thank you. Finally, I'm glad somebody said it." Yes, but he ended up saying, "There are good moments that we have together, and I just wish that those moments would last longer." And she said she wanted to stick around because he assured her that he's still in it. Now, this is where why did you do that, Eris? Do you want like the bonus check that comes from staying up until decision day? Why are you doing this? Why? You know you don't want that woman. I just can't. He gets on my last nerve with them little beady eyes, constantly looking down. You can't even look in her face. Every time we talk about it, you talk about how much you're not attracted to her. Your whole demeanor says you don't want to be there. Why would you not let this woman go? Why would you give her more hope? Because I saw it all in her face that she felt hopeful. Of course, Dr. Pepper, after that, is going to encourage him to stick around. And this next part was so sad to me. She was like, if she doesn't text him, then she doesn't hear from him during the day. He never texts her first. And Dr. Pepper literally told him to set an alarm to text her. If you have to set an alarm to text your wife during the day, you don't feel the need to want to check on them at all during the day, what is there to hold on to? That is so demoralizing. Oh my goodness. Even when they greet each other and leave each other, they do it as if they're friends or homeboys. He don't even hug her. Jasmine, why are you sticking around? This is humiliating. Like, it's so hard to watch. So let's move on to Kirsten and Shaq. So we start off this episode with Kirsten FaceTiming Shaq's mother, and she asked her for advice on how she can help him deal with stress. And I felt like his mother was doing too much. Y'all let me know if I'm overreacting, because I really felt like the mother was doing too much. Kirsten has her ways, and I've been very vocal about that. I don't understand why the mom was just, I don't know, it's not even what she was saying. It was her delivery. It was her tone. She was telling her, you're not supporting him the way that he would like to be supported. And I know there's been miscommunications, but he was really upset that you weren't there for that trip. Kirsten was like, well, I did apologize for that. And she was like, well, have you been there for him since? And basically, I don't know, almost like she was trying to make Kirsten plead her case. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And I'm looking at Shaq with a side eye, like, what are you telling your mother? I was told that when you're having issues with your partner, you're supposed to leave family members out of it, because y'all can make up, but that family member over here still gonna be upset about it. The mom seems to have a little chip on her shoulder already. And I was just really taken aback by it. I was just like, because I'm a grown woman, you know what I'm saying? She was almost talking to her like a child. So then we see Shaq and Kirsten, they're meeting with all the other couples, and they're having this conversation about people taking their own lives. And Clint and Chris, and we already know that Eris has experienced this too. He didn't say that at the table. Losing a friend to them taking their own lives, and you know, they didn't even know that their friend was struggling with mental issues. And had they known, they would reach out to the friend and they would have been there for the friend. And Shaq opened up and he admitted that he was that friend and he had those same struggles, and he suffered in silence for a long time. And he realized that he had to take himself to therapy so that he could unlearn those habits. You know, it really endeared me to Shaq even more, because I've never been to the point where I would want to take my own life, but I'm definitely the type of person that will suffer in silence. It was just nice to see, you know, the other couples reach out and like let him know this is a safe space, and you know, you could talk to us. We're here for you. Of course, Nicole's big mouth had to butt in and told him that, you know, he should lean on his wife during times like that. And basically, once again, was speaking for Kirsten. Like, I'm going to speak for you, Kirsten, because we've had our conversations. But Nicole speaking for Kirsten set him off, and he ended up storming out. And all the couples were like, what's going on? Why did he leave? Like, they didn't get it. I feel like Shaq was letting his emotions get the best of him. I feel like there was no need for him to storm out. I didn't think it was that deep. Even if you had an issue with what Kirsten was saying, that could have been addressed later. There was no reason for him to run out like that. Like, now this is where I feel like Shaq be doing too much. And I do feel like Kirsten has had her shortcomings, but I feel like he's being extra hard on her now because of the past and not letting go of her not liking him to begin with. It seems like he's holding a grudge and kind of making her pay for that. So she runs out after him, and he said he felt like she could have spoken up in that moment. I feel like Kirsten could have checked Nicole, like, you know, shut her down and let her know that I'll speak for myself when it comes to my husband. I do agree with him on that. He didn't have to, you know, storm out to say that. But she said she didn't really have a chance. Everything happened in a split second. And she said she was rubbing his leg and she had her hand on his back trying to support him. And I could see her side of it too. I just feel like he wanted more verbal support in that moment. Later, we found out that while Shaq was on his work trip, he found out that he wasn't going to graduate on time. And that was a huge blow for him. And he really needed Kirsten by his side in that moment. And she was like, well, you know, we had a phone call. He was like, I wanted your presence, not just a phone call, because with a phone call, you hang up. But if you're here with me, I have you comforting me. And she claims that he never said that he wanted her there. And he was like, I made hotel accommodations and everything, and you made a mistake. You should have went with him, and you didn't. You didn't prioritize him in that moment, and it made him feel away. Acknowledge it and move on. Stop making excuses for it. They put a little band-aid on it, enough for them to be able to walk back in. You know, he gave her a little limp hug, and they gave each other a little quick kiss, and they walked back in. But once they sat down with the other couples, they kind of brought the issue to them. So, you know, Eris got to be toxic. He was like, well, what if he told you to pack your stuff up right now because you going? And she was like, well, that's a direct statement, so I would like that. And so Eris was like, well, try that next time. Y'all, I was like, girl, both of y'all love the toxicity. Here go Nicole again, bringing up the fact that he should be more assertive in the bedroom. Kirsten was over here trying to pretend like, yeah, we made it to second base, almost to third, you know. And he was like, well, I haven't made an initiative in the bedroom. And she was like, well, go ahead, be assertive. And he was like, Kirsten and I have consummated our marriage. When I tell you the crowd went wild, everybody was shocked, appalled, screaming. Eris literally stood up and gave a round of applause and slapped five with Shaq. It's like, Eris, you have all this energy for them. You need to be doing this in your own marriage. Sit down, sir. Have a seat. Jasmine felt a way that she didn't get the exclusive child, but she was like, they was trying to keep it private for as long as they could. She was like, oh, so it's been a while. I feel like that night that he did that body painting on her, I feel like that's when they consummated. Because after that, if you notice, that's when the trip happened and everything. Shaq been real invested and real passionate and feeling some type of way about Kirsten. And after the whole little dinner, they were dancing together, and that was really cute. So then they sat down with Devon and they talked about their miscommunication with this trip child. And he said that he just does not feel supported. And she feels like she does give support. Devon made a really great point. He said that unspoken expectations are relationship killers. And you're holding her accountable and you're getting upset with her as if you told her what it is exactly that you want. Like, you say you want support, but you're not telling her how to support you. And, you know, you're holding her accountable for this and you're becoming resentful over it. And it's driving a wedge that's going to be difficult to fix in the long run. Clearly, this support issue is a deal breaker. But what does support look like to you? And he said that he wants her to see him in his element so that she can appreciate what he does and what he has a passion for. Basically, he just wants her to see him in his element and see that different side to him. Kirsten basically says she supports him how she knows to support him. She did go to Jackson with him instead of going to Jamaica. She did give him reminders about his paper and ask him about it. I feel like she really does think she's doing enough, so you have to tell her what it is that you want her to do so she can do it. Because if not, she gonna continue to do what she thinks is supportive. Like, if she don't know to do it, she can't do it. So I see, I'm on her side with that. And also, Devon told him, do not diminish what she does do, because that's discouraging and it's going to make her not want to do anything else. And also, she's looking for appreciation as well. You're laying the foundation for the rest of your relationship now. So it's important to get that straight now. And, I felt like that was a very productive meeting, especially if they take what he says and actually put it into practice. They possibly could work, but a part of me feels like they're not. I hate to say it, but I feel like they've been so cute together these past few episodes, but they always go 2 steps forward and get knocked 3 steps back, child. So we'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this review down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I would love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.